Okay, we're going to get started now. Hello and welcome to this webinar on resident screening. My name is Andy Birch and I'm going to be your host for today. I'm very excited to introduce this topic to you. But first of all, a couple of quick points. We're recording this webinar, which does mean that if you want to go back and review a particular part of the webinar at any time, you will be able to do so. We'll be providing you with a link afterwards. And we'd encourage you to share that with your colleagues if you think they would be interested in this particular topic. We will give you the opportunity to ask questions during this webinar. What you can do is just simply look at the question panel, just type in your question. If it's particularly pertinent, we may answer the question during the webinar itself, but the likelihood is we're going to leave it till the end and we'll have some time there to go through any questions that you might have. So without further ado, let me introduce your panel for today. So Aaron Durkee is going to lead this session. He's the Director of Resident Check. Aaron has taken over responsibility recently for all of the operational areas around the solution. In addition, Aaron is also the product manager for the Resident Check solution, and as such will be particularly keen on anybody's feedback as it relates to this solution, and will pass it through to our development team to act upon. Dan Wright is a senior sales consultant with Tenmast software. He has a great deal of expertise with the Tenmast solution and will be walking us through the resident screening process from the perspective of how it integrates with the Tenmast solution that everyone knows and loves that's on this call today. Ashley Close is a solution architect from the MRI side and has a great deal of expertise with the resident screening solution, and we'll be talking in more detail about what the solution actually covers, some of the key points, and the benefits that it will provide to you. Finally, and last but not least in this list, Justin Baker is the Director of IT for MI Resident Check. He's going to be my go-to when we answer your questions at the end. He's got a great deal of experience with the Resident Check solution based in Dallas as well, and has been with the organization for 17 years. So I welcome all of our presenters to this session, and at this point I'm going to hand over to Aaron, who's going to take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. So before we get into Resident Check business benefits and we get to the demo that everyone came to take a look at, I want to first connect us with MRI's residential suite. MRI's here, we've invested an unprecedented level in the multifamily, including the affordable and public housing. And we're building on our existing strength in property management and compliance to ensure that we're providing the public and affordable housing organizations with a broader, more comprehensive set of solutions that you can see up on your screen right now. Tenmast absolutely excels at compliance, and when we combine that with the products that we see up on the screen right now, the Tenmast clients will have access not only to these that you see on the screen, but also to MRI's extensive solution set that's available from other vendors through Partner Connect. And later on, we're going to talk about where you can find on the MRI software website a list of those vendors and those products and services. So at MRI, with our greater size and scale, we want to make sure that we're investing in more innovation and bringing new functionality to you as Tenmast clients. So in addition to covering screening today, we want to connect you in the near term with some of the enhancements that will be available to you as Tenmast clients, such things as electronic document signing and automated communications. This combination together is going to greatly benefit, we believe, in the public and affordable housing industry. So having looked at MRI's residential suite, want to take a look at the business benefits of Resident Check so that we can be looking for those as we walk through the demo. Behind every great product and service is the team that supports that, and Resident Check is no different. We have a team of in-house private investigators that conduct most of our criminal background checks in real time. And it's real important to mention that here because in addition to the software, this team makes sure that leasing friction is reduced by minimizing the number of false positives. Those thorough background checks are completed and each applicant is moved in based on the criminal criteria for your property. And this leads to the first business benefit, which is minimizing your liability and your fair housing risk. Because the number of false positives is reduced and because the team of experts is ensuring that your property criteria is uniformly applied, the property will no longer have to check and override any of those decisions that come from the team. This is going to minimize your liability and your fair housing risk. As a matter of fact, by default, the software is configured where the property can't override. Area, regional, corporate can override, but the property cannot. This is certainly customizable, and we'll work with you during implementations to determine what your best practices are, but we highly encourage, from a best practice perspective, is to not allow those overrides at the property level to make sure that we're maximizing this particular business benefit. So in addition, the team also relieves an administrative burden on the property level. When the adverse action letters are generated for conditional approvals or denials, the action letter actually has the contact information for a resident check. The property doesn't have to have that sometimes difficult conversation about why there's a conditional or a denial and what the reason is and how to read the background report that's been provided to the applicant. They can simply call the resident check team and the team of experts walks the applicant through that. These two combine together for the third business benefit, which is maximizing your occupancy and reducing your bad debt. Again, these are your key performance indicators that starting with reducing the number of false positives and ensuring that the greatest number of applicants can be moved in, it's going to increase your revenue margins. And if you happen to add a credit check as part of your tenant background screening process, you can reduce your bad debt because you can be assured that the applicant is going to pay their rent on time, they're not going to skip, and they're not going to get behind on their payments. So let's just keep these 3 points in mind as we get over and turn it over to Dan for the demo. Dan's going to start by walking us through Tenmast in the integration, and then he's going to hand it over to Ashley so that she can walk us through some more details inside the Resident Check website. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dan.
All right, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
We hear you good, Dan.
All right, fantastic. So let me switch over and make sure that you all can see my screen okay. I have the Win10 2 Plus home screen pulled up, so if someone could just give me a confirmation that I did share the correct monitor with you all.
You shared the correct monitor.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, these dual monitors get a little tricky over here sometimes when we start sharing screens. But just want to thank everyone so much for your time again today. I know we're really honing in on the Resident Check product, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to access Resident Check from directly within the Tenmast application. So the direct example that we're going to show today is for the Win10 2 Plus system. I know many of the folks participating this afternoon are currently using the Win10 2 Plus system. If you're using the Win10 2 system, we also have a direct integration for it as well, and I have a little screenshot from the occupancy and rent calculation program showing where the Resident Check icon is embedded within the Win10 2 Plus system on the tenant screen within the occupancy and rent calculation program. So Even though the screens are going to look a little bit different today, you have that same exact integration that's available within the Tenmast system. And for our Win10 clients, you'll be able to access the Resident Check system by going directly to the Resident Check website there. So just a little bit of housekeeping for everyone there. But in regards to the direct integration with 2+ and Resident Check, the Resident Check screening button is embedded on the person level throughout the software system for your tenants. And as you know, you can access person records from the person search within the Tenmast system, the household search, or you can drill down onto that person's record from their application on the waiting list or their active or historical certification that you might be managing for an annual or an interim. So depending on the point in the housing life cycle process that you need to run the search for the tenant, it's as simple as drilling down to the person record and clicking on the Resident Check button and ordering up your search. So just for simplicity's sake, let's just go ahead and take the direct path to the person in question that we want to do a search for today, and I want to run the search for Kiera Coffee. So I'm going to click on the person search icon. It's going to launch my new tab up at the top of the page for me, and I'll type in Kiera Coffee, do a search for her. Lo and behold, there she is. Click on the View button, which will open up Kiera's person record in a new tab for me. And just like on the Win10.2 screenshot that we saw a second ago, we have that same silhouette with a little red check mark on it, where just with one click, I can go ahead and access the Resident Check services without ever having to leave my software system. So everyone today is using a background check service of some sort, but right now chances are you're probably having to go to a third-party website, key in all the person's information, manually select which type of search that you want to process that day. But with Resident Check and the full integration with the Tenmast software program, all you have to do is access the person's record within the software application, click the tenant screening button, and that takes care of all the data entry work for you. So now, we're automatically, within the tenant screening application, we can see all of my person details, everything spidering over from the person record within the Tenmast system. We can see our addresses. We can even see other household members. So if we want to run a background check for multiple people at once, we can simply multi-select from the checkbox over on the left-hand side of the page. So if I notice that I had Ms. Tamika that I wanted to run a background check for, I could select their little checkbox, and I could run Kiera and Tamika's searches at the same time. So nice little, efficiency solution there to where you can process multiple searches at once. So once we determine exactly who we want to run the search for, if it's just Kiera or other household members, we can go over to the right-hand side and choose from our tenant screening options. And depending on which service that you contract with Resident Check on, you'll be able to see your available searches where you can run criminal background checks, you can run credit checks, you can run combined checks, and even other little granular search in terms of eviction searches or check writing history searches, so on and so forth. And the fine folks with Resident Check will talk a little bit more about that later on, but just wanted to let you know that this is configurable to your agency's selection in terms of the suite of searches that you want to be able to run. So for my example today, I just want to show how easy it is to run the criminal background check. So I'll select that from the drop-down box, and when I'm ready to perform the search, all I do is click on Perform Tenant Screening, and this will go out, connect to the Resident Check system, and pull back our results instantly for us in most cases. So I'm going to give this just a second to cycle through, pull back our demonstration results, and you can see right here within the software system, without having to go to any outside applications, I can see the preliminary results of our background check. Now, because my demo system is set up, just to demonstrate an accepted result, it's giving me a recommended action of accepting this person's application. And if I scroll down, it'll have some additional information about the tenant that I can review, any preliminary lease information, applicant data, and then we also have the ability to show configurable and agency-defined ACU scores that your staff can use to properly determine if this person is a good fit for the program. Is this a person that we want living in our property that will adhere to our guidelines? So the results come back instantly there, and then if at any point I want to come back, I can cycle out of the tenant screening right there, come back to the tenant screening button, and then instead of ordering up a new search, I can simply click on View Results, and I can go back. Oh, let me click on my account first. I apologize. And I can go back and I can see any previous searches that I ever ran. So not only do you have the tight integration that cuts down on the data entry work for the new search, you also have all of the search results that roll back directly here within the software system. So let's click on the search that we just ran, and it's going to pull up the high-level summary that we just talked about before with the initial recommendation. But notice that we have this nice little link that will allow us to view the full detailed results of that background check. So I can actually click on it, and that will prompt me to put in my username and password for the resident check application itself, to where we can pull up the website and see all of the detailed results for that check, as well as our other reporting options within the application. So that is my sneak preview, for using resident check within the Tenmast system. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley, and she's going to take us, through the ins and outs of the resident check program itself.
Great, thanks, Dan. All right, so we're just going to run through a couple examples of different applicants. So here on this applicant page, the first thing I see is just a general summary. This will provide a snapshot of the results. It'll include a numeric score, a recommendation, and a status. And again, the score can be modeled after your property's risk tolerance to maximize your occupancy. Now, we do have a breakdown of 3 ranges. It can be an approval, a conditional, or denied. And we have some statistics where an applicant is likely to go delinquent, but again, this can be customized. And this AccuScore model can hold any details you want, and it can also list conditions such as, 1 month deposit if you require that. So if we scroll down, we'll see why this resident was denied. Like they have a criminal record present and an eviction record present. So here on the summary screen, I can see those immediate results. But then if I go in and I view the full report here, I can get some additional details around exactly what was going on for this applicant. All right, now I'm going to scroll down, and we'll see the criminal record here. So I can see the degree, the offense, the fine. The sentence, all of that. And when there is a criminal record, resident check will wait with guidelines. So for example, say there's drug possession, the community standards might say possession is okay, but distribution is not, or a certain number of ounces are allowed. Like for example, in Cuyahoga, Ohio, this could be listed as, say, a Class B misdemeanor, but maybe in Texas, this could be listed as something not on an ABC scale. So what we're doing is basically trying to equalize this so that all the applicants are screened uniformly to take out that risk of fair housing. And then if I scroll down here, I can also see the eviction record, the status, when I filed the judgment. All right, now I'll pull up another example here. Here's another applicant that's been denied. If I scroll down, because there is a criminal record present, so we'll go to their full report here. If I scroll down, I can see that this person is actually a sex offender. All right, and now I'm going to pull up our final example here of somebody that has passed. So this person has been accepted. And we'll go in and view their report, and we'll go through some of the additional details here. All right, so the top sections are just information regarding the applicant that we've already entered. If we scroll down, the next section will be the Social Security number verification. And then we'll go through some of the additional details here. All right, So this is going to be your identity verification. It's going to be about matching the name, the address, the social to determine if there could be any fraudulent activity. And then text would appear with a warning. It'll also include, alias names and any credit bureau alerts. This could also include an alert that they had put on themselves, so they are contacted when this gets run, or an alert placed by the credit bureau, which could mean the file is frozen, there's fraudulent information, law enforcement has directed an alert. And then if it is a consumer alert, consistent with the FACT Act, the property can request that resident check verify that identity. So we will actually call them and clear the alert without anyone on the property having to do anything. You can see their credit risk factor here. They don't have any criminal records. We can also do telecheck history, so this will be for your check writing. And then as far as this goes, we'll show if they have an outstanding bad check, and this can be added to the scoring criteria, and it can also have it show what they need to pay, that they need to pay with certified funds. And then there's no eviction record history here. And just to note too, the eviction can be run with the credit, or it can be run separately as well. Here's their credit risk factor with their full credit report. We'll be able to see their public records. So this will include civil judgments, bankruptcies, tax liens, and these all could potentially be scored using our AccuScore model. It could be just for their existence, or we could have parameters set up around date range or balance amounts or counts. So you might permit one tax lien, but not two. Addresses, employers, no public records. And then the next section here is going to be individual credit accounts. So this will list any open dates, status dates, balances, conditions. The blue is just if something is derogatory, and then any housing debt would be in red. And again, this could be restricted by account, length of time, balance, etc. You can see all their previous inquiries. And that is the full report in a nutshell. The last thing I want to point out here is that we can also provide an action letter. So this is a letter just letting them know what their results were, why they were denied, if they were denied, and then letting them contact a resident check directly to ask them further questions if they want to. So again, just relieving some of that administrative burden off of the property. We'll take care of all that for you. So without further ado, I am going to pass this back to Aaron.
Okay, just to recap the business benefits that Dana and Ashley just showed us. We just saw the adverse action letter and how they can contact the resident check team, so that relieves the administrative burden. Again, the product and software that we have is first class and brings us a cost-effective and fast solution. But having the team individually review the criminal background check and ensuring it meets the proper criteria is going to ensure that you're minimizing your liability and your fair housing risk, and that's going to combine together to ensure that you've maximized your occupancy, and if you include credit check as part of your background screening, also reduce your bad debt. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Andy for our question and answer session.
Thank you, Aaron. So yeah, that was great. Thank you, team, for putting that together. I think that was very helpful. I do have a couple of questions that have come in. Well, Justin, I'm going to put you on the spot again here. In your experience, can you tell us what is the typical implementation time and what is involved?
Typical implementation is 1 to 2 weeks. That process other than just the basic signing of the service agreement, includes an on-site inspection by a third party. This is a requirement that we have to meet for the credit bureaus. That process it's very simple. They're really just there to check that it's a legitimate office, that there are locked filing cabinets, and that general information security standards are in place.
Okay, great. I've got a couple of other questions, but audience, please feel free to ask more questions if you have them. A couple of other ones. Here's one. Are criminal background checks multi-state based?
They are. We can offer a national, a statewide, or county level search in any combination that's desired. So that can hone in both on the coverage of a national and statewide search, or also augment that with the more expedient information that's available at a county courthouse.
I've got another one here. How extensive, I'm not sure whether you can answer this one online, but how extensive is your content for criminal checks and eviction data in New York and New Jersey? Quite a specific one for you there, Justin.
Sure. So specific pricing discussions would be something you would need to work out with your account rep. New Jersey is not priced specially compared to anywhere else at county or state level. New York has a special circumstance for only New York City, which is that the 5 boroughs, there's one single search that encompasses all of those. It's treated in the same manner as a county level search, but just for the 5 boroughs of New York City, and it has a slight price premium for that.
Okay. Don't need to necessarily get into the actual numbers, but can you just give a bit of background into the pricing mechanism for the solution?
Sure. The credit, check writing history, and eviction is one bundle that we consider the credit bundle at one price, and a national criminal, national sex offender, and statewide search is our basic criminal bundle. And then county level searches, those are priced individually per county, depending on how many counties are to be added.
Okay, great. And another question along those lines, is the social search a separate search?
We can either combine or break out the components. So some common use cases of that are to evaluate the instant and less expensive components like credit or eviction first, and only proceed to do the criminal if those items pass. Or we can also just queue up everything at the beginning. And then also we can provide multiple choices when the screening is run in a drop-down list where you can choose to do one or the other or both if you want to be selective at the applicant level.
Okay, great. I'm going to answer this one. Someone asked a question about some of the delays in delivering the results. That's more to do with our kind of local setup here, because we came into a quiet room which unfortunately doesn't have a wired connection, so we were using a wireless connection, which I think resulted in some of the network delays in terms of presenting the results. Sorry, another one here. Is the county covered, including the national search? If no, please explain the difference in the searches.
Sure. So the county level search is the item of record. That's the definitive source of any criminal conviction. Then there's a kind of a stratified set of tiers of reporting up, where the county reports up to a state database on a certain frequency, and that can vary from county to county. That database at the state government level is where we perform the statewide search. And then independently of that, both counties and states report up to private vendors operating national databases. We contract with several of these to form a nationwide network to search that. So the key difference in those is the expediency of that reporting, whereas the county courthouse is going to have those records immediately, like the day after someone's convicted. But they might not report to the state until 30 days later or 60 days later. And then the same thing with the national database could have a second tier of delay if the state only reports to a certain frequency up to them. So you could have a rolling delay twice. So recent records might not be there yet.
Okay, that's great, Justin. I actually have a question for Aaron. Aaron, can you tell us who they should contact if they want any further information, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So on our screen now, I have your account managers, Jim Hughes and Matt Grimes. And there are their email addresses at mrisoftware.com.
Okay, I don't think we have any more questions. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for their time today. Thank the presenters for their input into this valuable session. And I look forward to talking to some of you again in the future as we introduce more solutions to the Tenmast client base. Thanks once again.